Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. Boy, if you like to hear stories and you want to hear someone, I guess you'd call them a raconteur, today is going to be music to your ears. One, the subject matter is incredibly near and dear to me. If you've ever thought that there's nothing more glamorous than running a restaurant, that's what you see on TV, and it's always looks like just a great time. But I can tell you that there's also nothing more difficult than running a restaurant. And you see a lot of this on, I guess, these reality TV shows that are all over. There's, restaurant tragedy, restaurant, apocalypse, whatever they are. There's always restaurant reality shows. But if you have not seen the reality show, and actually I'm going to scratch that, the docu-series, and we'll explain the difference. If you have not seen the docu-series Consumed, the real restaurant business on CNBC, you are missing out. This is just something that is completely different, a different pace, different style than just about any of the I guess, so-called reality shows that are out there. But Consumed, it takes you behind the scenes of a handful of very different restaurants in the ultra-competitive New York food scene. And what it does, it walks you through not just these vignettes, but their struggles. And I'm talking about real struggles that businesses face, but also some of the triumphs that they enjoy as well, and as they overcome these struggles. And one of the restaurants on there that I just am completely fascinated with is Ann and Tony's. It's an old school Italian restaurant in the Bronx. And it's been run by the same family for generations. And what you see is not just the restaurant business in running a business and making the go of a business, but they're also trying to preserve tradition in the family business, and make it a success at the same time. So they have two things going for them that some restaurants don't. It's just not, well, let's make a go of it. No, this is not just make a go and put, dollars in our pocket. This is preserving a family legacy. And it's something that our guest today is extremely experienced at and good at when dealing with those legacies and helping businesses kind of see the future of this. Anyway, Ann and Tony's is run by the mother, Vera Napolitano, and two of her sons, Chef Anthony and his younger brother, and also today's guest on Influencers Radio. Please welcome Ralph Napolitano. Ralph, welcome to Influencers Radio.
Hey, Jack. How you doing, buddy? It's a pleasure to be here and an honor, without a doubt.
Well, I'll tell you, I am, this show Consumed. That's a perfect title because I am consumed with this show. And really, it's because why? I guess it's not called a reality show. I don't call it a reality show. You don't call it a reality show. I guess docu-series is the perfect description of it. And let's talk a little bit about that, because when I watch reality shows and you see things, it's almost like going from their definition of reality show. The Brady Bunch could have been a reality show, right. for all the
exactly.
The contrived scripts. So describe what exactly is a docu-series, so we can kind of describe the pace of this if someone hasn't seen this.
Right. Well, look, Consume, the real restaurant business, is probably in the forefront of docu-series, reality TV type docu-series. Especially, I'll just talk about the restaurant shows, like you were just mentioning. A lot of like restaurant kitchen nightmares and different shows like that, like Gordon Ramsay. They come in, they do an hour-long episode. They kind of, they paint the wall, they fix a menu, they put some flowers around, and they think everything is going to be perfectly fine and okay. And I watch those shows and I look at them, they're pretty good, but I say, you know what? Reality, that's not even close to being the reality of the restaurant business. There's so much more to it. There's so many more nuances to it. And consumed on CNBC actually takes you really deep into the behind the scenes of what the restaurant business truly is all about, because every restaurant is different. We know business is the same, but every restaurant that you see is very different. You know, when people walk into a restaurant or they sit down, they open the menu, and they get caught in the glamour of it. They see the fun, and they see the food, and they taste the great food, and they have the drinks, and they laugh, and they have great company. So what they see around them is, wow, this restaurant business got to be so much fun and glamorous, and this has got to be the greatest thing ever. And sometimes people decide to open one, and they realize the reality of the restaurant business. So if you're out there and you're thinking about opening a restaurant, you should definitely watch the show Consumed on CNBC. It'll take you behind the scenes. So that's the difference, and because the show actually documents each restaurant's hardships and wins and all basically the BS that goes into running the restaurant business. To me, it's groundbreaking. I think it's the only show that is like it that's been in any industry that actually takes you deep inside of it. And that's why it's an 8-episode series. It's not just a 1 episode. So you really got to watch it. It's really an interesting show.
Yeah, it is, because, a lot of the restaurant shows that deals with, hey, their food is cold. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And yours gets deep into the finance aspects of restaurants, the human aspect of restaurants, the real estate aspects. I mean, just really is tremendous. And obviously one of the dynamics that is, part of the Ann and Tony's story is the fact that it is a family run restaurant. And particularly, you're saying about how the restaurant looks glamorous. I'm sure if someone walks into your restaurant, they see Ralph. Man, look at this. It's like the movies. He's roaming around from table to table, making people laugh, sharing stories.
Smiling,
what a great job. But then, as soon as you go through the swinging door into the kitchen, things change. Things change big time. And if
you see it in the show.
Oh my gosh!
They change in the show.
And what I could tell you, the one thing I love is the dynamic between you and your brother, because you and Chef Anthony, you obviously have the ultimate same outcome that you want for Ann and Tony's and this legacy. But once you go a little bit deep, past the outcome, that's when there's nothing I hate to say this, love more. Maybe it's a guilty pleasure, but to see the frustration on Anthony's face sometimes. When you're trying to work out problems or trying to solve problems, because he seems to be a very kind of old school pragmatic type of person, and you're an idea guy, right? And you're out there looking at new things. So what is it like working so closely with family? Because ultimately it looks like it doesn't matter what either of you come to a decision to, you take it to mom, right?
Right. Oh, well, that's the ultimate always. But, I always said this, working with family is the greatest thing that you could ever do in a business. But also, working with family is the absolute worst thing you can ever do in business. So it's that double-edged sword. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place, the proverbial rock and a hard place. I always joke around, like you say, I'm always out front with the customers and talking, and I always tell them, hey, imagine having a job where you can't quit and you can't get fired. I tell them, so how would you act inside that job, Because you could say, as you could see in the show, there's a lot of things you could say to the family that you really couldn't say to a boss or your manager or to your supervisor if you were working inside of another job. So, that's the dynamic. And when you speak about my brother and I, me and him, we grew up the same. We grew up with the same values. We grew up with all of the same background. All right. But when it comes to business, we are two diametrically opposed forces in nature. He's definitely the pragmatic guy. He definitely likes things old school. He likes things he likes the status quo. I mean, that's basically what it is. He just wants to go along to get along, and he wants it to be back like it was when we were kids. And I tell him, listen, business is not like that anymore. You have to You have to be, customers and people are very different now. So business is done on a different level. So you have to figure out a way, especially with our dynamic, with the traditional type food that we serve and the tradition that we have in the restaurant. I always tell them we have to figure out a way how to tell our story and to deliver this message and to deliver the food that we serve and this whole experience of what Anatoni is about, but we have to kind of deliver it in a different way. So we have to figure out how to get that. And he just doesn't want to hear any of it. So I always go in with an idea, and he always like, oh, here we go again, you know. So that's the dynamic of the show. And that's why they specifically picked us for the show, because they wanted specifically a generational one, family-owned Italian restaurant. And the truth of the matter is, when I even do my own research, there's really not a lot of them anymore in New York City, let alone throughout the country. So my great-grandfather or great-grandparents opened our restaurant in the spot we're at in 1927. And it's been passed down to my grandparents, Anatoni, to my mom and dad, Ralph and Vera, and now to my brother and I. And we have children who are starting to work a little bit in the restaurant. So, and that's what they specifically wanted, and that's why they chose us for the show.
Well, I think also, you know, the dynamic between you two, because you and Anthony and Tony, you have two completely different, I guess, jobs in the show. And I think maybe that becomes difficult because probably from what I see in his mind, it's like, man, I'm making great food. People like the food. There's no complaints about the food. Right. You know, Ralph, do your part. And it's like, that's a big part.
I do what I do. I do what I got to do. You do what you got to do. That's what it's all about. But it is. We do have two different, jobs. He runs the kitchen, and he runs more of the business aspects.
The operations, I guess.
Paying the bills and doing all that kind of stuff. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. And I say it in the show somewhere, but again, there were so many things that were said. I don't know what makes the show, what makes the cutting room floor. And I even said it. I said, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the best at everything or I know it all. But, I'm not good with a checkbook. I'm not good with, figuring out the exact price of what we should be serving or whatever it is. But there's one thing I do know. I know what people want. I know how to serve it to them, and I know how to get them coming back. All right? I know how to give them a story. I know how to give them the great experience that they expect and they deserve when they walk inside that restaurant. And that's what I'll say it boldly. That's what I'm great at. If you want to talk to me about, calling up the accountant to find out, whatever it might be, I got no time for that. I have so much other, what I got to worry about is giving those people a great time and a great experience. And that's what I focus on constantly. Focus on the customer, the guest, and to make their life, for that little moment that they're spending with you, the best time that they've ever had. People are coming to you, and I think all business owners, no matter what business you're in, whether you're in a retail business, an internet marketing business, whatever it is, you have to realize that those people who are going to spend time with you and spend money with you, they could have chose to be anywhere else at that moment. They could have chose to be watching a movie home on Netflix. They could have been in another restaurant. They could have been in another store. They could have been doing anything else that they wanted to do, but they chose it to spend with you at that particular moment. So you better make sure you're going above and beyond to take care of that person and to give them the greatest experience of their life. That's almost what I look at it as. I want to give you the greatest experience of your life. So, and that's what I'm really good at, and that's what I focus on.
Yeah, and I think that's you nailed it right there on the head is experience. That's what people are paying for. Right. That's what they want is that experience, and that's the one thing that I clearly see that Anatonia's has is an experience. I mean, it is really just intoxicating sometimes to watch, and you think, man, I wish I could just go in there and hang out and sit down. And one day I will.
And you can. And you know what? That's what we encourage everybody. It's not just about coming in and sitting down and spending a couple $100 on dinner. Just come in, hang out, have a drink. Let's talk. I want to get to know you. I want to know who you are. I want to know what makes you tick. I say it all the time. I'm truly blessed with having that restaurant in my family. You know, who gets to sit and people come and show up that they want to come to you and they want to see you and they want to tell you their life experience. They want to talk to you. They bring their friends. They bring their family. I mean, what more could you ask for in life? I mean, I've spoke to so many different people in so many different walks of life, so many people in different businesses and different, ethnic backgrounds. I mean, the experience that I have just there is worth millions and millions of dollars. You couldn't get that at any university. You couldn't get that kind of experience anywhere else, you know?
Well, one thing, you're talking about listening to other people's, stories and their backgrounds. Yours
right.
is a tremendously fascinating one with your story. You mentioned a little bit ago about that the building. Your grandfather got that building. Great grandfather rather in 1927. And so let's talk a little bit about that. The dynamics of one, because you actually have you have the restaurant business, but it's also within this building that I guess your family owns along with this. A lot of people take it back to Ray Kroc or McDonald's, and this will be the only distinction or reference I'll make to Anatoni's to McDonald's is that a lot of people say that McDonald's isn't in the restaurant business; they're in the real estate business. Right.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's part of that story, without a doubt. But it's the same thing for us. We're lucky to have that our great grandfather was smart enough to purchase this building. And,
I got to catch you on this one. I got to catch you. You can tell I know my show trivia. There's one episode where it was brought up. Did he purchase the building or did he win it in a card game?
Well, look, the legend goes that he won this thing. That he actually you won this in a card game. So he had to, but there still had to be some purchase made. So there's these records of him purchasing the building. So
had to go down as legitimate, yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
You can write on the deed one in card game, huh? I guess so.
Right. You could actually do that. So the legend goes that he actually won this thing kind of in a card game from somebody. And you know what? And it was time because he actually did have an eatery. We're on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, right off of between 187th Street and 188th Street. And he actually started his eatery and social club when he first came to America on 188th Street in a very small little building, very small little space. And then the opportunity came in 1927, and that's when he moved over because he lived upstairs. He purchased it. Well, won it. I don't know. Who knows?
The opportunity came, or the four aces came. One of the two, right?
Right. The four aces came exactly. Or who knows? The gun with the. Let's not get into that. And he purchased it because there was the apartment up above the restaurant is just as big as the whole restaurant itself. So he moved his whole family up there, and he took the opportunity, seized the opportunity, and he got it. And he would bring his. Family over, and he would bring friends, and he would sponsor people, and they would work in the restaurant, and he would help them with their path to citizenship in the United States. So he was not only was he was a stand-up guy, he was a great person in the neighborhood, but he also did a lot of good stuff as well. He helped a lot of people out to make their way in this country. So his legacy is solid.
Well, we've mentioned that word legacy a lot, and I think the episode where this little fact came up of whether he wanted or paid the $11,000 for it is because you had some people that were offering to purchase the building, right? And I think I forgot what they were willing to go up to, a little over $1 million. I don't remember if they ever touched that. And so you have two ways of looking at it, and I have no idea what the real estate value is they were looking at what's the worth, what's the value of this of the bricks and sticks, right? And to you, there's way more to that value, obviously, because of the business and the family and that legacy. And I know you guys were throwing out, like minimum of $3 million. But I would even be willing to bet that if they would have said, okay, $3 million, that you would have looked at each other and say, well, wait a minute, let's make sure, Right.
Yeah, we definitely would have said, let's make sure. First of all, this if when you see the episode, that was the second, I think it's third episode. That was the third episode of the show. They come in, they're building this whole building next door to us, And let me tell you, the scaffolding, if you watch the show, it's still there, and it's still killing me. This thing monstrosity outside, it's covering half my building, which is not good. But they walk in, you're walking into me, and you want to get me out of my place. You can't start talking to me about property value or whatever it is. I don't care what the property value is. I don't have a for sale sign on my building. So you're the one who wants to walk into me and you're trying to make me an offer. You better make sure that offer is, like I say in the show, you better bring some suitcases full of cash, my friend. Otherwise, you better make me an offer I can't refuse. I mean, that's the bottom line. And they just weren't willing to go that route. He kept talking about, well, the building's only worth this. Your great-grandfather purchased it for that. And I was like, I could care less. It doesn't matter what the value of the property is. You got to pay to get me out of my home, because that's basically what our restaurant is. It's our home. It's our second home. I've been there since I'm a little kid. So you're going to go for it. First offer was $900,000. Are you serious? I mean, so he needed to come up with a lot more. And you know what? Even you as an entrepreneur, a business owner, whatever it is, you better value what you have, and don't just give it away readily and easily just because some guy, as some magic pearl or whatever the heck for you, or some shiny object, some bright shiny object. Don't get lulled into it. Don't, make sure you're going to make the right decision on that.
Yeah, because and you definitely had there was other currency rather than just dollars for you that he couldn't come up with. Obviously, no one could come up with because of the
currency. I mean, literally, my father. Right. My grandfather walked around there as a little boy. My father was baptized in the restaurant, and he had his baptism there. I was baptized there. My brother was baptized there. My children had their baptisms there. So, you're talking, and that's where the start of it all, birthday parties and all these kind of things that just personally for us we've been through inside this restaurant. You want to come in and just say, oh, your property's worth this amount of money. Here you go. Have a nice day. You can leave now. Nah, I don't think so, pal.
Yeah. Well, that was really a fascinating to watch and witness because that's where I think this show goes so much deeper than just some quick little reality vignettes. I mean, that's real business issues. That's real business struggles.
Real business, real struggle, and that was all in real time when you watch it. That was all in real time. The negotiation that we did, we didn't really know yet what he was going to offer. We know he wanted to, and we waited for the camera. We talked to him, and he said he'd be willing to do it on camera. And we didn't know what his offer was going to be. All our reactions were real and spontaneous. And as a matter of fact, I think they kind of left some stuff out because when he said $900,000, I kind of gave him a few choice words that they didn't include in the show. So it was all real. I mean, that's why I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoy watching it even more. Because it was all real time. I know a lot of people. You go on Twitter and it's fake, this and that, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, look, things are set up, but the situation is all real. So.
Yeah, well, I can tell that's what it's so clearly and drastically different than I think what we've become accustomed to reality shows. Right. Indeed, one of the things that you go into that you don't see a lot is when you guys openly talk about the struggles with marketing. Things have changed. Last year, we were doing this much, and not just, last year we were booming and now we're kind of, stagnant. You go into numbers. We were doing, and a lot of people don't understand how the restaurant business works on, how you do it per head or per, whatever. And I guess that's where Tony comes in with his numbers. He can tell you right down to the dime. What each customer and plate of food cost and your cost to do that, and then
each customer's worth, and absolutely
and you have to translate into how can I get an effective marketing piece, and that's one thing that I think we see on there is you were definitely a guy that you're not there buying the yellow page ads. You're not going with this is what we've always done. You're out there kind of on the edge and doing things that a lot of people maybe a little bit afraid to do with the stuff that you do with online and the things that you're doing with your promotions.
Absolutely.
And where a lot of business owners think that, this is my place because, great book and great philosophy, Michael Gerber's E-Myth, work on your business, not in your business.
Yeah, I've read it about 20 times. I wish my brother would read it, but I've read it about 20 times.
But the one thing that was really fascinating, that really I think made you such a great figure in this show, and I think what a lot of people resonate, especially business owners, is that nothing's above you as far as what you're going to do for marketing, because you've gone out and hit the streets with flyers, one-on-one, belly to belly, come to and trying your promotions. Yeah, ringing doorbells, trying the promotion with the campus promotion.
Fordham University.
And so
Fordham University.
Fordham University, and you've kind of introduced elements of membership. I don't know if you use those terms, but a lot of people that are in marketing and things, you've brought in the concepts of membership, and especially the drink promotion that you did. So talk about that. How you've kind of applied what a lot of people, entrepreneurs, especially in the online world, it's second nature. Memberships and promotions and recurring, and a lot of people have never thought about how they would apply that to the restaurant business. Talk a little bit about how you came up with those ideas about applying those promotions.
Well, here's the thing. Let me go back a few years. One of the things where what's gone on inside our neighborhood, inside Arthur Avenue, the real Little Italy of New York, by the way, not in Manhattan. So when you come to New York, I'll do a quick commercial. When you come to New York, don't go to Manhattan. You got to come up to the Bronx, all right, and see the real Little Italy of New York. But over the years, there's more restaurants pop up, more places to eat, and I was sitting around one day, probably in around 2005, and I was saying to myself, how can I get my advantage? What's the one place that these restaurants aren't going? Where's the one place? What's the one thing they're not taking advantage of? And I started looking online. I started looking at Google and search engines, and I started studying search engine optimization. SEO, and I started, we had this pretty website, this beautiful postcard, beautiful website that we paid thousands of dollars for. And it basically wasn't getting any traffic. It wasn't doing anything for us. It wasn't really bringing in business. Nobody saw it, and nobody really kind of checked it out. So I said, let me get myself educated here so I could have my edge over my competition. And I really started studying, website design and search engine optimization, how to get it found in Google, and doing all this stuff. And I basically scrapped our website, and I built this a crappy website on my own.
I can see Chef Anthony's eyeballs rolling in the back of his head now.
Yeah, they were rolling big time. He thought I was nuts when I was telling him all this stuff. He didn't know anything about Google. What are you talking about? I just was giving him the strategy, and after really studying it, I'm going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to get people. He's like, who goes online? What is restaurant? He had no idea what was going on. So I put a website together myself, and when I originally had it, it was like one landing page. It was one page. I didn't even have any pictures on it. It was just a headline and an opt-in box.
For a restaurant.
to get a $10 gift certificate. This is my restaurant's website. And let me tell you something. In 2005, when I put that website up, it was like gangbusters. People were coming in with the gift certificates. It was unbelievable. And my brother was still he was pissed off that he had to give these little $10 gift certificates away. And I told him, are you serious? The dining room is full, and you're worried about giving $10 away. Don't worry about it. I'll make it up. I know what I got to do. So, it went over huge. Just one landing page with a headline saying, just, come to Arthur Avenue, come and eat in our restaurant, all search engine optimized. And that's where it all started. And that's where my thinking out of the box really started. And then I got into the online world. And I started studying all these online marketers and the things that they're doing, and these membership clubs and all these kind of, this really cool stuff. And I said, I could translate this to my business. I could do this. We just because we're a brick and mortar and we're a restaurant service business, we could take that, and we could take those ideas that they put out there, and we could, translate them into us. And, And being, having an entrepreneurial mindset and always reading books and reading about business. And, one of the biggest things is to look at what other industries are doing and how do you take it inside your business. So, and that's where it really all started. And I still have, if you go look at our website, if you, AnnandTony'sOnline.com, if you go check it out, you look at it and it's not like any other restaurant website that you would see.
No, I love it. You got the video with you and Tony sitting there. I mean, that's just fantastic. And a lot of people don't think about that, but the fact is, it worked, and I think that's probably a real live example of pretty website versus ugly website. Working on that. But so if
how many people, and I still get how many people come in, they try to tell me my website's ugly, and I get all kinds of people emailing me to we'll fix your website. And I'm like, no, thank you. Okay, you're going to screw my website up if you fix it. Have a nice day.
Yeah, that's hilarious, and it just goes to show kind of the people lots of people out there selling pretty websites that don't make money, I guess. So let's now talk about those two promotions. The one for the college, Fordham, right? And then also the one with the drink specials. Kind of go into the elements of those and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and kind of lessons learned on those.
Well, here's the deal. Again, if you do watch the show, that's episode. Was episode 2 where I do the Fordham thing?
I believe so.
It's episode 2. It's the second episode, where where I come up with this good idea to capture these Fordham students. Look, there's 15,000 students in that campus, and a lot of them live in housing right around our restaurant in apartment buildings. So they're there, and they do come and spend their money. Now, again, let me step back. Is for our type of restaurant, our type of business, is the college crowd the thing you want to go and get? Is that the one thing you're going to rely on to build your business? No, it's not. But why should I leave that money on the floor? They come and they spend, they eat. I see them go in the pizza shop, all this kind of stuff. So what can I offer them? What can I do for them? So I came up with the idea of, hey, look, even in university setting, all these kids are joining clubs. They're joining all these different things. So I came up with this Fordham Dining Club thing. And it turns out you eat like these, you get 5 meals at the $40 special, and then like the 6th one, you get a free meal. And, and a lot of kids are coming in. Well, now they're on break at the moment. But a lot of kids are coming in and they like it. And they're like, wow, this is really cool. No one's ever done anything like this before. And they feel like they're part of something. They love the area of Arthur Avenue. And now they feel like they're drawn into it. Now they're part of Arthur Avenue. Because a lot of these kids, they come from the South and they come from, wherever, and they don't have this kind of atmosphere. So now they feel like they're part of the family. And that's what I want to make it for them. In the beginning, it kind of was a little confusing if you watch the show. I called, this Fordham Eating Club that they have at the university. And it's they're a bunch of foodie kids, and they go out and they Instagram their pictures all over the place. And I brought them in to give me a little focus group. I served them food. Of course, I gave it to them free, which, Chef Anthony wasn't happy with that. But, I wasn't worried that they weren't going to like the food, but I wanted to know if the price point was good. Did they understand the offer? Would they like it? Would they? And as a matter of fact, coming into September, when they come back, August, a couple of the kids on the show are marketing and business majors. And they're going to come and they're going to help me spread the word around campus. And I told them I'm going to teach them some real marketing tactics that they're not going to learn in school. So it's going to be a win-win for me. So that's what I got out of all this. I got a good focus group. I got feedback, and then I got some help with these kids that are going to help me spread the word on it. So it's a good thing. It's going to be a good thing in the end.
Yeah, and so that's kind of all in developing. You're kind of letting that evolve and to see how it.
Yeah, it's still developing. So now
the drink special.
Again, with that developing it, look, it wasn't perfect when I made it. When I made the cards, I just put it out, and I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs go through. They have a fear of that paralysis by analysis, that procrastination. They have a fear of something. Just put it out there. Just do something and let something flow back to you. If you put something out, something's going to flow back. So all you're going to get is results. That's what you're worried about. You're not worried about making the money at the moment. You're not worried about, is it going to be perfect? You're worried about, let me put this out. and let me get my results, and then let me fix it. And that's what we did with the show. I put it out. I was bold enough to put it out on TV. Okay, because again, all this was real. I created this all from scratch for TV, and I was willing to lick my wounds if it didn't work. All right, and you saw me, and I took the cards and I went out on the street and I knocked on doors. Okay, I knocked on these Fordham kids' doors all by myself, and I said, "Hey, check this out. What do you think about it? Would you come in?" And I was interviewing them right there in their dorm rooms. So, and you see it on the show. I'm willing to do that, to make myself better and to make the restaurant better.
Well, I think one of the things you said is that a lot of people are afraid to do it, but that was clearly, aside from you succeeding or failing on TV, documented, but that was actually probably a little bet that you took to say, let me see if this works. You didn't go into months of planning and committees and all of this. It's like, well, let me throw it out there and let's let it evolve and see if it works. And a lot of times, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does work, but so many people avoid that because of the fear of, but it didn't take you much.
Right.
I mean, how long did it actually take you to whip that together and actually get in front of the first person?
What what do you mean?
From idea, let me whip this offer together and let's get it out there and see if it works.
It was less than a week. I put that all together with the printing of the cards and everything, putting a little website up that I did myself again. It took less than a week to get it done. So, and again, it's because don't be afraid. And I talk about it too on the show. One of the biggest things is you cannot be afraid to fail. To me, failure is where you're going to learn and grow. You have to be willing to fail in your business. You have to be willing to fail in your everyday life. If you're not failing, when someone tells me that they've never failed or they're not, so everything is perfect, I look at them and I just go, you know what? That's a person who's not living life the right way. And they're definitely not a successful business person, or they're never going to be, because they're afraid to fail. They're afraid of ridicule. They're afraid of or whatever, or being made fun of. You can't worry about it, especially if you own your own business. You can do what you want, when you want, how you want. So don't be afraid to get out there and do it. Don't be afraid to do what the next guy isn't doing, and that's exactly what you should be doing. If the next guy isn't doing it, then you should be doing it. It shouldn't be, well, that guy does it, so we'll do it. I don't, that never jives with me if you start telling me that stuff. So,
yeah, well, I think
just be out there. Right.
I think that's also, I think it's a great kind of demonstration of the different mindsets between you and Tony, who's great at what he does and an absolute necessity to that business. I mean, without that doubt. But as far as the difference between working on your business and working in your business, he's fantastic working in the business because he does those things that have to be done. But it's almost like, talked about that mindset. It's almost like you have the mindset of, well, you can't win if you don't play. And it's almost like he has the mindset, well, you can't lose if you don't play either,
Right. And you know what? I think you hit it right on the head. That's exactly what it kind of is between us. But that's what makes it work.
Yeah. And so the drink promotion you did, that was another little bet that you got some pretty instant results on.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's the one thing we always talked about, with my brother as well, putting signature cocktails on the menu. Right. I mean, it's for a restaurant, it's really a no-brainer. Every restaurant or bar should definitely have their own signature cocktails. It's something we've never done, and I would always talk to him about it because price points are a little higher for the cocktails because you're making these specialty cocktails with good quality ingredients. And he's not willing to. He doesn't want to. He's worried about the price. People aren't going to pay it, or you put it out. People might get upset. Or whatever it is, but I told them, look, it leads to the story of what Anatoli's is all about. It adds to it, and it brings people in another step further, okay? So I always wanted to put these nice cocktails together. One of them was, the triple shot espresso martini. I'll get down to the basics. And one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to put it on is because my grandfather, Tony, every morning would start his morning with 3 shots of espresso, and that's how he did it. So, and that's what got him revved up for his day. So I wanted to pay tribute to him and put that on the menu and tell that little story. Another great drink is called the Mario test. Now, and the drink is basically it's bittersweet. Now, if you go, you have to Google Bronx Tale Mario test. If you kind of read what the Mario test is all about, you might even see a video. You kind of understand what the bittersweet thing is. So I can't give it away. I want you to go and Google that and have some fun with it. But you're having some fun with it. Now, like I said, to launch that drink menu, and again, this is all in real time. We did this for the show. To launch the drink menu, I wanted to have. I like events. I like parties. I like all that stuff. It's always fun. So I said, look, we're going to launch the menu. We're going to have a party. We're going to launch this. We're going to invite our guests. And we're going to invite, I'm going to do some email marketing. I'm going to do some Facebook stuff. And we're going to fill this place up. And my brother, which they didn't show, I actually made him a bet. He told me I would never be able to fill the place up for a drink menu, and I won. So he owes me dinner and a vacation. So I'm going to have to call him on that bet eventually. And that's what I did. We put this menu together with my guy Mario, who's been working with us for over 10 years. We put this drink menu together. We tasted the cocktails, and we tasted them in real time. We didn't taste them beforehand. We did it in real time for the cameras, and we worked it, and we perfected the cocktail recipes, and we had everybody try them and taste them. And then I set off and did my thing. Which, you know what? I actually watched the show. They really didn't show a lot of what I did, which I'm kind of pissed off about. I actually told the producer. I texted her the next day. I said, "Hey, you didn't show me sending out the emails. You didn't show me doing the Facebook. But the one thing they did show me, what they did show was, and here's another thing that you have to be willing to do. It's just because it's a restaurant business, the telephone works both ways. You don't have to sit there and wait for it to ring. You can pick it up and dial a phone number and try and get some business that way. And that's exactly what I did on the show. And again, it was all in real time. A lot of those people, I made phone calls to invite people to come to this event. And I called them in real time, and I got them to come, and they showed up. So, again, it's something that I highly doubt, if you're a business person, entrepreneur, listening to this, I highly doubt that you probably made a phone call to try and get some business in the door. And I did that. I'm willing to do that, and I do that on occasion, too. So, again, you got to be willing to go the extra mile. A lot of times people like to hear your voice. That you didn't forget them. Wow, this guy's actually calling me. He's taking time out of his day. He's the owner of that business. He's taking time out of his day to make a phone call to see how I am and then to invite me to a great event. And it goes a long way.
Yeah, and obviously, and they showed the good, bad, no. Like people that said, "Hey, I'll try to make it." Others said, "Yeah, I'm definitely going to be there." And so it obviously paid off. All of the things that you did. But one of the things with that, not just with the signature drinks. And the way that you did that kind of as the features, but the hook and the pricing angle that you did that I thought was pretty unique to turn this into a kind of a special limited kind of occasion type of event. Talk about that, how you came up with the pricing and that for that event.
Well, the pricing, the drinks on the menu, the price points go from $12 to $14 for these specialty drinks on the menu that we have, and there's about six. I think there's 6 cocktails that are on there that we just made our own, our signatures. And what I did was I said, I sat down and I figured out, hey, what, and we talk about it on the show. What profit point are we going to make on each drink, and then what's our cost, and then what's our profit. So what I did was I took it and I probably should have charged a little more, but for the show I wanted to get people in. So I put a $30 price tag on it, plus the tax and the tip. They had to pay extra. But I put a $30 price tag on it, and it was an open bar for 2 hours, and they could order any drink that they wanted from the cocktail menu specifically. And then we put out some appetizers, like a cold antipasto plate and some pasta, okay? And then what we did was we actually figured out, what our price points, our cost, and our profit was going to be on each drink and each of the food items. And then we kind of figured out, look, 2 hours, how many cocktails can somebody have in 2 hours? What's the most they could have? Two cocktails if they want to go at it. And, some people push the limit and they got a few more, which is fine. because generosity is always on the menu at Tony's. That's the one thing that will always be there. And I think generosity should be on the menu of any business or any person who wants to be an entrepreneur. Be generous first, and the world will bring things back to you in a good way. So that's what we did. We took the price points, and basically it just turned out to be, and we kind of ran the numbers for the night, and it was usually what we would profit per head on any given night that we even if it was a regular Saturday night dinner service. And at the end, it all worked out. It worked out well. The profit that we made on each person per head was close to, it was a little bit less, but it was close to what we normally make anyway. So it wound up being a win-win. It was a great thing.
Well, I think one of the remarkable things is, not just that profit, but the fact is that they went around and talked to some of the folks and
right.
They out of their own mouth said, well, we're willing to pay a little bit more for this. Pretty much what you just said for the experience, for the
right.
They were willing to pay a little bit more for a drink because they weren't just buying a drink. They're buying the experience, the atmosphere, the treatment and service they got at the restaurant.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people that get fixated on hard cost don't realize the value that comes along with that and why people would pay more.
Right. And the thing is because we tell it, there's a story behind the cocktail. Each one, there's about 4 specific cocktails on there that have stories behind them. So, again, people are going to be willing to pay a little bit more for the experience, to be drawn into something, to become part of something. And I think that's why I'm truly blessed. Oh, excuse me. I'm truly blessed to have that at our restaurant. We have a story. We have an experience that we should give people. But to me, any business or any entrepreneur can create their story. And I think it's essential that you have to create your story first. I think before you even start doing anything, create your story. Why are you in this business? Why did you show up? Who is your inspiration? If you start a restaurant, if you decided you want to start a restaurant tomorrow, well, who inspired you to be a cook? Who inspired you to be in the restaurant business? It could have been a family member. It could have been a friend. It could have been, somebody you met somewhere, whatever it is. But tell that story and make sure everybody knows about it. And people want to be involved in your life. They want to hear your life story. Like again, I'm actually lucky enough to kind of have a grasp of who my great grandparents were. Some people don't even know who their grandparents were. Some people don't even know who the mother or father was. So I go 3 generations deep. How lucky am I to have that experience? And we keep that story going. And I make sure I tell everyone who comes in, and I make sure I tell my children. My children right now know who their great-great-grandfather and great-great-grandmother are. They know a little bit about them, and they know a little bit of how they came to America and what they wanted to do. How many people get to have that? So I'm truly blessed that the story was written for me, but I just had to tell it. But go tell your story. That's the biggest thing. Make a story, tell it, and then deliver that experience to everyone and draw everyone that you want to be your customer, draw them in and draw them into your story, and they'll be your customer for life.
Well, I can tell you one of the things that draws me into your story, and you talked about, the fortune that, your kids, can know who their great-great-grandparents are. But the fact is, this restaurant has been, one of the mainstays of Arthur Avenue in the Bronx for like 90 years. So it's not just your children that know who their great-grandparents are. There's a lot of people that know who your great-grandparents are, who your grandparents are, who your parents are, because of, I guess, the legacy that has been built up over the years in this rather, famous, maybe infamous area. So
a little bit of both.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because you have a restaurant, 90 years, and one of the things that you can say that most people can't is, Mickey Mantle has come through this restaurant. The Yankees. Who was it? Rocky, was it Marciano?
Rocky Graziano. Rocky Graziano was a champion boxer, lived in the Bronx, as a matter of fact, and he was Ava Gabor. was his girlfriend. And they would come in all the time and hang out with my grandparents. They were like mainstays in the restaurant, and they would come and hang out. And all the New York Yankees in the 50s and 60s used to come and hang out. Back then, there was one lawyer, one accountant, one agent that basically handled everybody. It's not like today they have an entourage of people. Each individual athlete or actor has an entourage of people handling them. But back then it was just like one or two guys, and it just so happened that his gentleman, his office was across the street from the restaurant, and he was great friends with my grandparents. And he would bring anyone and anyone. Willie Mays, Muhammad Ali came in the restaurant. I got his autograph when I was a little kid, Muhammad Ali. I got Willie Mays' autograph. A lot of the old Yankees have their autographs. I didn't get them. My father got them. I wasn't born yet. And they used to come and they would hang out. Here's a good story. Want a good Mickey Mantle, Whitey Ford story?
Oh,
here's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you a good story. My grandfather Tony used to always put peaches and cherries. He would get this big jug of red wine, and he'd put the peaches and cherries inside of it, and he'd let those peaches and cherries ferment in there, and just really let the cherries and the peaches soak up all that wine. And at one time, Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford, a couple of guys were eating in the restaurant, and my grandfather brought it to both of them, and they were eating the cherries, and they were loving it. They couldn't believe what they were eating. They loved to drink and they loved to eat, so they had these cherries. Oh my God. Long story short, my grandfather used to actually have to get in a cab and make this, and used to deliver it to Yankee Stadium to the clubhouse for these guys so they could eat them before the game, after the game. I mean, now I know a lot of clubhouses, no alcohol allowed, but back then it was a little different story. And he used to get in a cab and drive to Yankee Stadium in that cab, and he'd deliver every other week or so, and he would deliver to Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford so they could chow down on the peaches and cherries. So,
forget the tobacco. Give me the wino cherries.
Exactly. Give the wino cherries, man. That's it.
That's fascinating.
It preserves you. You live longer. Right.
Well, we get a sense of this, when I watch the show, a certain sense, obviously with the restaurant, but you don't get a sense of the true essence and that atmosphere about Arthur Avenue in the Bronx. And I know that's incredibly important to you, and the story and the legacy, because you hear that Arthur Avenue, that's a very important name to you. So tell me a little bit about Arthur Avenue in the Bronx. And, you brought about the real Little Italy of New York. Talk a little bit about that area.
Right. Look, Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, it's the Belmont section of the Bronx. It truly is the real Little Italy of New York. And it's what makes it so special is there's a lot of shop owners and some other restaurants too, but there's most of the shop owners, the bread stores, the pastry shops, the cheese stores, and the pasta shops. They all generational run. They all handed their craft down to 3 or 4 generations as well. And they've all stood inside this neighborhood in this area, which truly makes it great. And you know what? They're all steeped in tradition. They're steeped in family. They have strong values of what honor, loyalty, and respect. And there's just a certain atmosphere when you come inside. And it's small. It's not this big, huge place inside this couple of block radius. That when you come and you walk the street and you go into these shops, you really feel that atmosphere, that there's a tradition about family, about the quality of what they do, the craft that they've learned from their grandparents and great-grandparents. And truthfully, you just don't get this anymore. It's let alone New York. I mean, I don't know if you get it outside of New York anymore. There might be places that try to duplicate it, but you can go to chef school, no disrespect to any chef who hones his craft and goes to school and does what he's got to do, but there's just certain things you're just not going to get. You can go to any chef school or any university. It's just not going to work when you have, if you don't have the tradition and the respect of family passing it down to you and handing it to you. It's just, that legacy is just so important. And that's what you really, truly get when you come into Arthur Avenue. And I say this, if you love a place like Disney World, Arthur Avenue really is like the Disney World of anything authentic Italian food and Italian specialties. So it's something that you have to put on your bucket list to come and see. So if you have a bucket list or things that you want to come and see, you want to go do, listen, you're going to do this. You're going to come to New York. You're going to come to the Bronx. You come to Arthur Ave and you walk around, and then you come and see me, and you sit in my restaurant, and then we sit down and we eat together, and we have a glass of wine, without a doubt.
Yeah, well, I think that, you're making me want to jump on and find some plane tickets now.
Get on the plane, come.
Yeah, well, given from what I hear, I mean, you have such a passion around the legacy of the restaurant, around the Arthur Avenue. I have to ask, is with you being as protective as you are around this, what is it that made you decide to do this show and put yourself out there and knowing when you see how a lot of these reality shows, end up and some of the buffoonery and things like that you see, what is it that one, how you were approached to do the show and what made you say, okay, we'll do it?
Well, one of the things when we were first approached, actually we were just found by a casting agent who sent me an email, and I opened the email and I read it. And that's another thing about my brother. I said, see, that's why I answer the email every day. You understand? So answer your email every day. I know there's a lot of coaches, whatever, tell you leave email alone, and that's crazy. You can miss so many good opportunities if you don't at least look at your email. You don't have to answer it. So we opened the email, and we were one of the few restaurants who responded to this casting agent. And so we were the ones who got chosen. But after we got chosen, CNBC, they didn't have a name for this show yet. They kind of had a premise for the show. And we actually had contracts in our hands waiting to be signed to start film. We had an actual filming date to start filming. And they still really didn't have they had a premise, but we really weren't sure, and I wasn't sure myself. And I sat down with my mom and my brother, and I was like, look, I want to do this show. It's one of the biggest things. One of the reasons I want to do it, because I want to tell my family's story. I want, they're the true heroes. They're the people that I look up to, and they really, put their time in, their blood, sweat, and tears to make this restaurant and to leave this legacy behind for me. And then I always say, look, I'm just a spoke on the wheel. So I'm just lucky enough to be, born into this. And I want to represent their legacy in the correct way. And that's very important to me, without a doubt. That tradition, their legacy, their blood, sweat, and tears, I'm not going to just do it for buffoonery. And up until the very last minute, we still weren't signing the contract because we weren't sure. The only thing that really put it over the top was I know that CNBC isn't a buffoon network. I mean, the shows that they have on there, as you could tell, all of them are done with high quality, with, they want to teach stuff, they want to show stuff. It's not just about you sitting in the room and arguing with your brother over the restaurant business. So that's what made us finally decide to sign it. But back in 2009, we actually shot a pilot with another production company for a TV show. And, we were willing to do it and to shoot it. And as the shooting went on, and then as we shot like maybe 1 or 2 episodes, 2 episodes we kind of shot of it. And then after we shot the 2 episodes, then they were talking like all this kind of nonsense. They want us to, even go outside of the restaurant, and it was going to turn into buffoonery. And I basically told the guy, I said, listen, you could write me a $10 million check right now, hand it to me, and then tell me there's millions more behind that. But you're going to have to basically smear your family's legacy and make you look like a bunch of morons and buffoons, like you say. And I told the guy, it's just not going to happen. I don't care how much money you're going to put in front of me. I know a lot of people go, you're crazy, because you see all these other reality stars and all the money that they cover, like Kardashians and all these whatever the hell they are. Look at the money they're making. You know what? There's no money in this world that should make you want to be a buffoon and to destroy your family's legacy. It's just disrespectful. It's not the correct way to do things in life. And you just have to have some kind of conscience when it comes to this stuff. It's great to build a bank account. I always talk about this a lot. It's great to build that bank account as a business owner and entrepreneur, and that's what all of us want to do. I want to build a bank account so big, that it could go up to God in heaven. But I'm not going to do it without trying to build the legacy and to preserve the legacy of what I have. So I think you should also, building your bank account, you should also build a legacy with what you're doing, whatever you want to do. If you're an internet marketer or whatever you're trying to put out there, you should build a legacy along with that bank account. It'll last forever. It'll go forever. And it'll be a really good thing to leave to the next generation that you might have. Not just go sell a product to make a quick turn and make money. That's a great thing to do. I don't necessarily have, I respect any businessman, but somebody who sells a product that makes $20 million, good for you. That's nice. But you know what? What did you build behind it? What are you doing with it? Are you moving the world forward? Are you doing something good in the world? Are you helping your family? So that's where I come from. That's the things I look at. So if that show that we're doing now, if it wasn't kind of help building the legacy of what we have put together after 90 years, I would have never done it. I would have never did it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, well, that's one thing you can tell. You have a very acute sense of the value of that legacy, and I think you are certainly making a lot of people stop and think about that. And there's a lot of people that out there, and I think what truly makes you an influencer is that there's a lot of people out there that has that feeling in their gut that of a desire that they have, because there's a lot of people out there that have made the money. They made the $10 million. They made the $20 million. And then they're thinking, what's next? Why am I not feeling satisfied?
Well, fulfilled. Well, they're not feeling like they've done something that's, I think it's human nature. I think all of us want to, and it preserves your mortality, I guess. We all know we're going to pass away. We all know, we don't like to think about it, but we all know it's going to happen eventually. What's your legacy? Well, he was a guy who made hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. And what did he do with that money? Where did it come from? Did he move the world forward? Okay. I know it might sound, a little corny or whatever it is, but to me, it's extremely important that you should be doing that. You should be doing things that are going to move the world forward. And you know what? Go make billions of dollars, man. I have no problem with anybody making billions and billions and billions. Go eat it up. That's what the American dream is all about. But one thing I want you, I do it in a way where you're going to move the world forward, and you're going to leave something to your family or to your kids that they're going to be proud to say that you built that legacy for them. And you can leave some, and that's how you get. So you become immortal, even if it's just in the eyes of your children. And that's really the most important thing. The eyes of your family is most important. And then you become immortal that way. My great-grandparents are immortal. My grandparents are immortal to me because they're never going to pass away. They're still here with me. So because they've done something great and they move the world forward.
Yeah, well, I think what you just described, obviously there's a lot of people out there that I think have that sense of emptiness, and I think you've actually put a label on it, a face on it, and then help them. There's probably a lot of people having a V8 moment right now, thinking that's what is missing. And you talk about that, the legacy about, that your grandparents, your great-grandparents are immortal, and you certainly pay reverence to your family, and even the way with your mother that, in the show when she's brought in to sit down and let's talk about the real issues that may not have to deal with the day to day of, what color napkins are we going to use, but what is affecting the legacy of this. So let's go some generations deeper. Cause I know a lot of the recipes were passed down through your family.
Oh yeah. Well, look, right.
No, well, I mean, I want the ingredients, Tony's talking about the ingredients, and he's very, very, adamant about these being the family recipes, but there has to be ingredients for success that have come down from your family too, about, these very foundational elements that you, and principles that you have in the restaurant. Start with your grandmother. If you look at, Anne. All right, Anne, the Anne of Anne and Tony.
My grandmother Anne, absolutely.
Yeah, what?
She was a huge influence on my life, without a doubt. She came to this country when she was about 12 or 13 years old. She came by herself on a boat, and the truth of the matter was, our grandparents were an arranged marriage, and she came over and she actually lived up above the restaurant with my grandfather as little kids. And then when they became teenagers and when they became of age, they were 18 years old. and they actually got married. But she came over, and one of the things they didn't realize, my great-grandfather didn't realize, the legacy is passed through the men, really, of my family. My great-grandfather to my grandfather, the Napolitano family, to my father, and to us. And basically my great-grandfather became, father to my grandmother. And what he didn't realize was how good of a cook she was. And basically, as a teenager, as a 14, 15-year-old young girl, she became the main chef in the restaurant. And she would cook, and she would just, it was amazing the things that she could do with food. And again, she's not trained in any university or anywhere, any school. She was trained by her mother back in Italy, and fine quality ingredients. But she would always talk to me. I would always hang out in the kitchen with her because I would hang out and I would wait till she finished cooking, because whatever she made was extraordinary. And till this day, I tell anybody, if you gave my grandmother your shoe, she would make an extraordinary meal out of it, and you would eat it, and it would be the best thing you've ever tasted. That's how great she was. But she always used to sit and talk to me, and she would tell me, Ralph, in a half-spoken little accent, you have to do things. You got to do things, just 3 things you got to do. All right, you got to do everything you do in life. You got to do it this way. And she would go, and she would say it in Italian. She would go, you have fide, passione, amore. She would tell me, do it all that way. And all 3 things: faith, passion, and love. Okay. She was a very faith. She was deep in faith. She would go to church every single day. All right, before she opened her restaurant. And she was strong in her faith, and she had a strong belief in God, and she believed that she was put on this planet by God to serve people and to give people great food. But she was also a big believer in having faith in yourself as a person. Be faithful in the fact that you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. And she would push that on me as a little kid. And you got to think, she wasn't an educated woman. She even came to America, and she didn't go to school, and she didn't go to high school. She doesn't have a graduation certificate, but she was very knowledgeable in basically principles of life in general. And she also said, hey, look, do everything with passion. If you're not doing it, if you're not doing what you love, and you're not putting out this product, especially when it came to her cooking, if you're not cooking with passion and you're not making it the best that it could possibly be, then don't bother doing anything at all. Make sure you're putting out a good product. Make sure you're doing everything you can with your whole heart involved in it. And then she always said, do it with love. Do it because you love people and you love to serve and make sure. See, I even get choked up still thinking about it. But make sure you love everybody, and make sure you love what you're doing, because if you give love, it's going to come back to you 100 times over. And it was a testament, because every time as a little kid, I would watch her, and people would come from all around to just come and see her. They would hug her and kiss her, and my grandmother actually has to have the world record, the Guinness Book of World Records, for being the godmother. She was the godmother of like every child in the neighborhood when she was younger. When I was a little kid, everybody who still comes in, yeah, your grandmother's my godmother. I'm like, oh my God, there's all these people. But that's a true testament of what she was and what her passion was, and how she was as a person, and how everybody just gravitated towards her. She was a magnetic character. Okay, you want to talk about a magnetic character? I'll give you a good story. She was. All right, I'll give you 2 stories. One, when we had to, before we even could eat on a Sunday, which would be our family dinner when we would go down, we had to sit and pray, and we had to say the rosary. Otherwise, my grandma was not giving us any food. And I remember she took us, the bishop at the time of the Archdiocese of New York, Pericola was coming to Mount Carmel Church on Arthur Avenue. And she took me by my hand and my brother, and she made us go over there, and she made us meet him. And I'll never forget it. And we were in the church, and he comes walking up the aisle. My grandmother jumps into the aisle. She hugs him. She kisses him. She kisses his ring. And then she turns and says, these are my grandchildren, Anthony and Ralph. And I'll never forget it. She put his hand on my head and his head, and he gave us a blessing. And my grandmother passed out in the pew at the church after he gave us a blessing. And that's how passionate she was about her faith. She knew we were going to have a blessed life after that. But she was also a very passionate woman about her family. and very protective of the family. And I'll never forget, I was we used to have a hangout bar in the restaurant. All the neighborhood guys are in there. I mean, you could just imagine. I mean, you've seen the movies with all these characters, and a lot of these guys are hanging out inside the bar. And one day, a couple of gentlemen were standing at the bar, and they started to give my father a hard time. And my father always tried to head it off at the pass. Saying, gentlemen, I appreciate it, but if you're going to be whatever, I'm going to kindly ask you to leave and all this kind of stuff. And so these guys started talking, who are you? Talk to me. You know who I am. Well, all this kind of, who I'm with. Yeah, okay, very nice. Well, so I said, I appreciate that. And he was trying to be very nice. Finally, the gentleman reached over, and it just so happened my grandmother was walking into the bar as she saw this. The gentleman reached over and grabbed my father by his shirt. But my father was a guy who could handle himself, but he knew business and he knew when and when to do it. He grabbed this guy by his shirt and he basically threatened my father's life. If you don't shut your mouth, all this kind of stuff. Well, what a lot of people didn't know was my grandmother used to carry a little small 2-shot handgun in her bra. And I kid you not. And she saw this. And she walked up behind this gentleman. And I never saw it. I never knew she had a gun in her bra until this day. She pulled her gun out, and she basically grabbed this guy by his neck and put it to his head. And she told him, she told him in Italian, don't you ever dare mess with my family. I don't care who you are. And if you don't want to, whatever, you better take yourself and you better get out of this restaurant. I never saw two guys hightail out of a restaurant so fast. And my grandmother turned around, she put the thing back in her bra. She left, she went back in the kitchen. But that's how passionate she was about her family as well.
Entrepreneur, restaurateur, bouncer, everything.
Yep, bouncer. And that's a true story. And it was pretty crazy. And she never talked about it again after that. She didn't want to hear nothing. My granddaddy, who was not? She goes, always protect your family, she said. Always protect the legacy, without a doubt.
Well, I knew that, when I said the raconteur, I knew what we were going to get here, and I could tell you, and I could sit and listen to hours in this, and I want to, right. But I want to do it. I want to do it on Arthur Avenue over a plate of pasta and a bottle of wine.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's the way it's got to be done.
Yeah, well, that's what I get a sense of. I sit right here, and I'm thinking, sitting behind the microphone looking for the vino, and then I'm thinking, man, this is great. I could listen to this, these stories, and I think that's one of the things that just makes what you have so unique. And I think there's a lot of people that are listening to this and think this is what is missing. This is what I can create all the money in the world, but to be able to create the opportunity for my children, for their children, to sit and tell these stories to their friends, to their family, is one of the greatest pieces of wealth I think someone could pass on. Without a doubt. And I think, listen to you and your philosophies and the way that you think about things. To me, you're so much more than a restaurateur, than a marketer. I think you are someone that is possibly even a pioneer in this legacy. Mm-hmm. I don't hate to even call it an industry because that kind of minimalizes it, but it's something that I think there's a lot of people that are missing that I think you may have some insight to.
Well, look, like I say, I'm very much into the marketing world, and I follow a lot of different the gurus or whoever it is, and they're teaching you how to build a business, which is great. Which I listen to them and I love it, and I've gotten such a great education from all of these people. But again, I think that they're missing that one little spark. It's great to have build a great business and to build it with having endless amounts of money and flowing. Because look, money is a thing that's going to help you to do great things with your family, if you want to do charity, whatever it is. But it's not just making a quick turn. And I think it comes from the philosophy of what my dad used to talk to me about. Again, I can go back to being in the bar of my father's restaurant when I was a 10-year-old. And again, all these characters used to be hanging out. My father always used to whisper in my ear, and I would see him with them, and he would kiss them. Hey, how you doing? But a lot of these guys weren't the straightest guys in the world. If they didn't do business, the right way, if you want to say. And he would always turn to me and he would always tell me, look, Ralph, and to my brother, look, you want to respect these guys. You want to make sure you take care of them. He goes, but you never want to be like them. You never want to be them, he said to me. And I think that stuck with me very much so in my life. And I think that's why when I look at all these marketing gurus and all this stuff, I think that's the one thing they're missing. Doing the business the right way and then helping building that legacy, that second part of it. And I think that's what they're really missing. And I think they're missing it because I don't think there's anybody out there who could really teach it. And to me, since doing this show and really getting into all this stuff like that, I'd like to be a person who wants to bring that to a lot of entrepreneurs and business people. Focus on the business, focus on making that money. Let's do the marketing. Let's do all the stuff that's important. But let's not lose sight of what we're really trying to build. We're trying to build a legacy here. We're trying to build really something really good and something important that could be handed down through generations. So you know what? 90 years from now, when you start your business, your great-grandson, all right, could be sitting talking with another gentleman on the other end and telling him about you 90 years down the road. So, and that's what I really believe that we should be striving for as all business owners and entrepreneurs, without a doubt.
Well, that's why I think, you're certainly, I think, a leader and one of the first people I've actually, been, talked to about this and really have a sense of understanding about, what it is, because it's something that I don't think anybody, I think a lot of people would have a hard time putting that into a concrete thought, and you're able to do that just so brilliantly. And I don't want to get off into too much else. I know your time is valuable, especially right now. But I wanted to make a point of and really put a spotlight on the fact that you talk about how it is a separate thing between building a business and building a legacy, because you build a business, you understand business. And one thing I want to bring up is that a lot of people don't realize this because they don't make it a part of the show is the restaurant isn't just your only business. You also have been a practicing chiropractor for the last 15 years. So you understand, business and very diverse businesses. Those have very, little to do, at least from the outside. So you understand business and how to build a business. And certainly the chiropractic, what does that help you? I think when I found that out, I think, man, can't you at least give your brother a discount and help him out?
It's too funny. I'm a practicing chiropractor, and I actually love chiropractic, and it's definitely a philosophy and a lifestyle. And truthfully, it has enhanced the chiropractic lifestyle that I live and I even teach to my patients. Now we're totally in a different tangent. This is so funny. That I teach to my patients. I teach them a lot of the principles of what I have learned from my restaurant business and the philosophy of life that I learned from my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. And chiropractic kind of flows with that philosophy. Chiropractic is about, taking care of it's always a three-part approach. It's about your physical being, your emotional being, and your chemical being. So the food that you eat is going to affect what you are and how you live every day. Your emotional state is going to play a big role in how you live your life and how you can do business per se, or how you can just have good relationships or whatever it is. And then your physical body. If you don't have a good physical body, you don't make the right decisions. If you're in pain, if your body's riddled with disease, you're not going to just be in a zone where you can function at a high level in life in general. And especially if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, if you're not functioning on those three things aren't functioning, your physical and your chemical and emotional state aren't in harmony, you're not gonna flow right, and things aren't gonna come to you the right way. So the chiropractic philosophy and the philosophy that I've learned in my restaurant, I basically meshed into one at this point. And I love showing it to my patients, and I love showing it to the people who come inside the restaurant as well. So, but other funny story, it's great how I have my patients who actually come to my restaurant to eat dinner and hang out. And then I've had customers who've been in my restaurant who come to me as a chiropractic patient. And it's really funny how you're treated in those two different worlds. someone who comes meets me in my chiropractic office, and I tell them about my family's restaurant, and then they show up at the restaurant. It's the best reaction. I'm in a whole different world now when they show up, and they're introducing me as I'm standing over them and taking care of them. They introduce me. This is Dr. Napolitano, and I'm like, wait a second. Tonight I'm not Dr. Napolitano. I'm just Ralph. I'm going to give you wine and food for your ailments. And then you have my customers who've known me since I'm a little kid, who come into the chiropractic office and they think they're in the restaurant. Hey, Ralph, what's going on? They hug me and kiss me. So it's a fun dynamic. You know, I think I'm truly blessed in how my life is. Sometimes you sit around, every entrepreneur, business person, everybody, my life sucks. You want to talk about the grass is greener on the other side? You know, I think I'm a prime example. You have the restaurant and they have the chiropractic. So everybody says, oh, people in my chiropractic practice go, oh, chiropractors tell me, oh, thank God you have the restaurant because the chiropractic business is so tough. And then the people who I know, restaurant owners, man, thank God you have the chiropractic because the restaurant business is so tough. And then I go ahead and explain to both of them the pitfalls and the craziness in both, and they both look at me like, yeah, there is no grass and greener on the other side. That's what you make of it. It's how you water that grass and what you do with it. So that's what you want to do. It's too funny.
Man, inside the mind of Ralph Napolitano, I can tell. Consumed the Real Restaurant Business CNBC 8-part docu-series. I think we could have an 8-part Influencers Radio right here. I mean, this is it just never ends. It's incredible. And I'm going to tell you right now, for the record, I got to have you back because I know you're working on some other stuff that without a doubt. And you know, right now, as this is being aired, we're only halfway through the series on NBC, and I'm dying to see what happens. But just really fascinating, and I think anyone that listens to this would be hooked. And I want to thank you so much for sharing this because I think this conversation we've had, it takes it so much deeper and behind what Ralph is all about. So I'm truly grateful for you coming on and sharing this. How can people find out more? And now I know people are dying to see the website, you know, because with the video and the opt-in. But also, how can people find out more about the Ralph that they just learned about, even if they've been watching the show and understand more about this?
Two things I want you to do. Definitely go check out. One, if you're in New York and you're close, or you ever come to visit, without a doubt, you got to come and hang out with me and let's talk about anything you want to talk about. You got to come eat my grandmother's food. You got to come drink with me, and we got to sit and we talk about our philosophies of life and business. So I invite you in. And you know what? Go check out the website, the ugly website, AnnAntoniesOnline.com, and you check it out over there, and you see this little video that we shot. And the only way I got my brother, Chef Anthony, to shoot this video with me is because I offered him a glass of wine in the video. So if you watch it, and the video was shot again, going back to the principle of just doing it, we did one take, 1 minute, and that's how long the video was. Boom, and that was it. And it's been on the website. I think it's been seen about 30,000 times. I think it's been seen, whatever, on our website, if not. So go to the website, connect there, and I always send out little emails about what's going on in the neighborhood. So even if you're out of town, you get a little essence of what goes on and what we do. And then also I put together a little site. It's called thearthuravenueway.com. And I'm actually working on a book. I'm going to tell you I'm working on that book. Sometimes I get so busy I can't get things done. But I got to put some strategy on myself to get this book done. And I call it the Arthur Avenue Way, and it's basically the Arthur Avenue Way, 7 simple steps to what's my title? I wrote it down. What's my title,
Well, your brain too. You got too much taken up written in your brain. It's the Arthur Avenue Way. When I saw that Arthur Avenue Way, 7 simple ways to succeed in business and life without fear, imitation, or bullshit.
Yes.
How are you going to promote that on your show?
Bullshit. I don't know. I don't think we're promoting that on the show. So yeah, I've been working on that, and I'm working on like a little, these 5 fatal flaws that I see, basically in people's that are consuming everybody's success in business and in life. So I'm putting like this little PDF report together, and when it's done, you go over to thearthuravenueway.com, put your name and email address in, let's connect. And when it's done, I'll send it out to anybody who wants it. And then in the meantime, I'll just, send you some emails, and you can send back to me, and we can connect that way. And just throw thoughts around, philosophies around it, because that's how you build things. You start talking, and you get it out there, and you get it done. And I'm consumed with, and I'm with being helping anyone who wants to be successful. It's a passion of mine as well. So you can always hit me up. I'm on Twitter without a doubt, Ralph_Nap. You can hit me on Facebook, Ralph Napolitano. Instagram, Ralph_Nap. You can connect with the restaurant, on Instagram, Ann and Tony's _ Arthur Avenue. You can come our Facebook page, Facebook/Ann and Tony's. Just connect with me. Let's talk. Let's hang out. Let's share thoughts, because that's what it's really all about. So,
yeah, we'll put all those links on the show post, and definitely check out Consumed. The real restaurant business on CNBC. Catch it live. Go look at your on demand. It's on there. Hit the CNBC app. Whatever, however way you have to do it. You've got to check this out, because it is such a unique and fascinating, and everything right down to the cadence and the pace of the show is just really tremendous. So again, thanks so much for being on here, Ralph. You really are a true influencer in my book.
Thank you. I really thank you so much for having me and let me tell my story. And I want to thank anyone who's listening. Thank you for taking your time out. Again, like I said before, you could have been for this past hour or so. You could have been anywhere else in this world right now, but you chose to be here with me and Jack. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Folks, there you have it. Check it out. Definitely Consumed. Check out Ann and Tony's online, and also the ArthurAvenueWay.com. And until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today, or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/influencersradio.